Hey everybody, and welcome to the weekly scopes from the 16th to the 22nd of November. Okay, I hope everyone's doing okay and fine this week. I'm about to give you the weekly scopes and how you can use the astrological placements of this week to, help you live your best week. So yeah. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic Constellational Astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic Constellational Astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs and the Western signs shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees, 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain what parallels and contra-parallels are in astrology, because I use them in my chart interpretation. So Declination in astrology is the measure of how far a celestial body is, such as the sun, whether it's either north or south of the celestial equator. And the celestial equator is an imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, which us astrologers use in our interpretation. So parallels happen when two planets are on the same declination. Either both planets are on the north side, or either both planets are on the south side. And this alignment increases the influence of the involved planets. So it's similar to a conjunction aspect, as it amplifies their energy, making the effects of the planets more pronounced. Contra-parallels, on the other hand, happen when two planets are on the same declination, but one is in the north and one is in the south. So this alignment creates tension, which is similar to an opposition aspect, and it can lead to conflict, challenges and inner struggles between the energies of the planets involved. So contra-parallels highlight areas of friction or contrast in our lives, urging us to find balance between the opposing forces at play. When transiting parallels and contra-parallels happen, they can sort of trigger significant events, shifting consciousness and periods of intense growth and transformation. So I look at these aspects closely during chart analysis to understand how planetary energies interact and influence each other during a specific time frame, to pinpoint key periods for personal development, relationship dynamics or career shifts, and other shifts like karmic shifts and stuff like that. Because I just find using contra-parallels and parallels gives me more depth in interpretation, so I use them. So contra-parallels and parallels in astrology serve as markers for potential challenges or breakthroughs, guiding us towards more self-awareness, love, acceptance, understanding, forgiveness for ourselves and others, and shifts in consciousness and growth. So overall, just a shift in our mindset if we allow for it. So parallels and contra-parallels just kind of provide valuable insights into the complexities and nuances of the astrological interactions between planetary movements. So yeah, that's the end of what contra-parallels and parallels are. So this week there's Mercury making the contra-parallel to Jupiter. That's our first aspect, and this works the same as an opposition, really, opposing energy. And this entered on the 12th of November, is exact at 2:29 a.m. on the 17th of November, leaves us on the 20th of November, and Mars is in Scorpio and Chiron's in Pisces. Then we've got Mercury making the contra-parallel to Uranus, and this entered on the 15th of November, is exact at 10:42 on the 19th of November, and leaves us on the 22nd of November. And Mercury is in Scorpio, Uranus is in Taurus, and the Sun makes a parallel to Mercury. That's the same as a conjunction, right? And this enters on the 17th of November, exact on the 19th of November at 6:33 p.m. and leaves us on the 22nd of November, and the Sun's in Scorpio. Uranus also makes a sextile to Neptune. This entered on the 2nd of August. So this is one of the ongoing aspects that's still going to be ongoing even after the 18th of December exit date for this specific exact conjunction, which is exact on the 20th of November at 2:39 p.m. and Neptune's in Pisces. And then the Sun makes a contra-parallel to Uranus as well. This entered on the 12th of November, is exact at 3:15 p.m. on the 20th of November, and leaves us on the 30th of November, right? So yeah, the Sun is in Scorpio. So the theme of this week is healing meets revolutionary breakthroughs. So Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron brings a dynamic tension between our need to think analytically, rationally, and our wounded wisdom, the wisdom that we can gain or have gained from working through our psychological, emotional and spiritual wounds. And this energy sort of puts a spotlight illuminates how our thinking patterns relate to our deeper wounds, creating opportunities for healing through conscious awareness and expression. And it wants us to heal our wounds through honest communications this week. And Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus brings a dynamic tension between our focused mental processes and revolutionary new insights right into our problems, creating a powerful energy for breaking free from our limited thinking and opening up our mind to new beliefs, new perspectives, new ways of doing things, right? So Mercury in Scorpio channels mental energy with depth and precision, and Uranus in Taurus challenges us to break free from our fixed thought patterns and to get out of our stubborn ways and comfort zones if we, are kind of like addicted to them. The Sun's parallel to Mercury brings an alignment once again in between our central self and our conscious mind, bringing clarity or supporting clarity of purpose to our thinking and communication, because of course we've got Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron doing that as well. So this energy supporting that energy, allowing us to have that clarity of purpose to our thinking and communication this week. And it basically wants us and supports us being more authentic in our self-expression and being open to the deep depth of life, being deep this week, not just staying on the surface of things, actually questioning why we do things, why the things that are being said, why we do our daily routines in the ways that we do it, and looking for opportunities to, come up with new ways of being and doing our day-to-day tasks and work and stuff. Uranus' sextile to Neptune is harmonious sextile with Neptune, which represents spirituality and transcendence, going beyond. It brings a productive flow between revolutionary thinking and visionary inspiration. So it supports us being grounded, but also, with that grounding, being open to spiritual insights into practical change, So again, this is supporting us changing our habits this week. And the Sun's contra-parallel to Uranus again supports our need for freedom and authenticity, creating opportunities once again to break free from limited self-concepts or the negative beliefs that we think about ourselves, and just being more open to being our authentic self and loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves, managing and understanding ourselves. Scorpio, where the Sun is, and Uranus in Taurus, a fixed earth and fixed water, right, gives us that revolutionary energy for change and to make that long-term sort of changes, and having that staying power, that endurance, that perseverance, getting back up after each fall, right? So this week we have a lot of aspects that help us heal our mental patterns, have breakthrough insights and clear self-expression, and to be more visionary and innovative in our authentic liberation, so being our true selves, right? So ultimately, it means that this week we should focus on our thinking and communication patterns, and, be open to healing our deepest wounds and being more self-authentic in the way that we express ourselves. So yeah, that's the summary version. So if you just want the summary version, that's it there, right? So now I'm just going to start going in depth about all the different angles, and first we're going to deal with the Sabian symbols this week. So the only aspect that has Sabian symbols is Uranus and Neptune sextiles, because remember all the other aspects are either contra-parallels or parallels, and that just means that planets are on the same side of the hemisphere or on opposite sides, right, but they still influence us. So Uranus is at the 6th Sabian degree of Taurus, and the Sabian symbology for that is the woman of Samaria at the ancestral well, and this represents the connection between separate areas, the differences that we have across the diversity of life, and the creation of pathways where none existing before, so opening up to newness, right? This is what this energy wants us to do. It bridges revolutionary insights and spiritual vision with practical action, right? And Neptune at the 6th Sabian degree of Pisces, a parade of army officers in full dress, represents the outward manifestation of inner discipline, the honouring of structure within spiritual practice, and the visible expression of invisible principles. And as Neptune receives a set star from Uranus, we're reminded that even the most transcendent reasons require some form of structure to manifest effectively. So in terms of the weekly energy patterns, this week's main aspects are helping us to gain a greater awareness of how our thinking patterns relate to emotional wounds, giving us opportunities to heal through conscious communication and expression, right? Allowing us to have breakthrough insights that free us from limited perspectives and beliefs, allowing us to align our authentic self and our conscious mind, our logical mind, and coming up with new approaches to practical challenges, finding solutions for them, allowing us to ground spiritual insights into, touchable real life uses, also giving us the courage to break free from limited self-concepts, improving our ability to express ourselves authentically, and recognizing the value of facing our life challenges, right? Giving us the ability to build bridges between opposite approaches, so between being intuitive and logical, right? This week's challenging side of these week's energies. I'll learn to speak one day, hey. So yeah, guys, our challenges this week are that mental triggers can activate old emotional wounds. There can be a tension between analytical understanding and wisdom. We can have destructive thoughts that challenge our comfortable assumptions. We can have a difficulty integrating revolutionary insights into existing frameworks. There can be resistance to necessary changes in self-concept of identity, and we can have this trouble balancing practical stability with the need for innovation, newness, right? Communicating our insights or just expressing ourselves in ways that others can understand. We can have a challenge with being understood and understanding other people this week, and managing the pace of transformation to avoid being overwhelmed. So steady as you go, right? Try not to rush, but also don't just stay in your comfort zone because you're like, oh, everything's going too fast. Sometimes we have to challenge ourselves, right? And we can kind of like find a structured expression for nebulous, delusional spiritual insight. So this just means that we can try and use logical or some other form of explaining for spiritual beliefs, and people can do that. So be avoid of cultist thinking, cultist content this week, always try and do your own research, and try not to manipulate others with spiritual other information also. So to make the mess of this week's energy, pay attention to your mental habits, the ones that may be continuing or healing your emotional patterns. Ask yourself, where do your thoughts consistently lead you toward or away from your vulnerable places? And Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron, really this combination of Scorpio and Pisces, right, puts a spotlight between where deep psychological understanding can meet emotional sensitivity this week, pushing us to be more authentic and to care for ourselves, right, and to listen to ourselves. And we can consider how we communicate about our wounds with both honesty and compassion. This energy can really be productive if we approach this consciously, to speak our truth, to listen to ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to allow love to allow us to lead us to newness, right? It supports breakthrough insights and clear expression. And as we move into Wednesday, because of the Mercury contra-parallel Uranus aspect, we may have sudden realizations that change our perspective, or we may find ourselves expressing truths that were previously kept hidden. And as we get towards the end of the week, the energy of Uranus, set star Neptune, and the Sun's parallel to Uranus, which are exact on Thursday, right, allows us to liberate ourselves and seeing beyond conforming and being like everybody else and conventional boundaries, but doing it in a grounded way, not just like, oh, forget conforming completely, or throw logic out of the window completely, but it really allows us to get outside of our comfort zone. So good for setting new routines, having those difficult conversations, doing shadow work, inner child work and stuff like that as well. Ultimately, this week is a week of healing awareness of the mental patterns or the emotional patterns that hold us back, or the ones that support us in being our authentic self, right? And ultimately, it just means this week the focus should be on becoming aware of how your thinking patterns both reflect and affect your emotional wounds, creating an opportunity for healing through conscious awareness that sets the stage for breakthrough insights and authentic self-expression to, follow. So now I'm going to talk about the different ways we can practically use this week's energy across all areas of our lives. So in terms of career and business, right, professional insecurities and past disappointments can influence our current thinking about our careers, right? Imposter syndrome can affect our communication this week, or past criticism can create hesitation in sharing ideas. Ultimately, this week's transits are supporting us to bring consciousness to the patterns that are holding us back around workplace communication and professional self-concept. And since Mercury's in Scorpio, right, focusing on the deeper truths beneath the surface in our professional interactions can be particularly healing right now. Consider how only such strategic communication might confront underlying workplace dynamics, allowing ourselves to be more open to communicating with our unique voice and perspective on professional matters, becoming more authentic, right, getting to the core issues that are affecting our work, and making those visionary changes in our professional life, finding practical uses for inspired ideas and breaking free from limiting professional self-concepts, so just sort of like implementing practical changes that align with our larger vision for our professional growth. Consider innovative approaches to persistent workplace challenges, new solutions, and confront professional insecurities that affect your workplace communication, and break free from limiting ideas about your professional identity. So in terms of friendships this week, we should notice how past friendship wounds influence our current social thinking. Consider unconventional perspectives on reoccurring friendship patterns. Express more authentic aspects of ourselves within trusted relationships. Implement practical changes that align with our ideal vision of friendships, and break free from limited social roles or identities that we've outgrown, right? So in terms of self-partnership, for those who are self-partnered this week, notice how your self-talk continues, perpetuates or heals emotional wounds. Question long-held assumptions about your limitations or capabilities. Express more authentic aspects of your identity through journal, writing or creative outlets. Implement practical self-care changes that align with your ideal vision. Break free from limiting identities or roles you've outgrown. Hookups. Notice how past wounds influence your thinking about casual intimacy. Consider unconventional perspectives on reoccurring hookup patterns. Express desires and boundaries more authentically. Implement practical changes that align with your ideal vision of casual connections. Break free from limiting sexual scripts or roles you've outgrown. Committed relationships. Notice how past wounds influence communication patterns in your relationships. Consider unconventional perspectives on reoccurring relationship dynamics so you can solve them. Express more authentic aspects of yourself within the partnership, and implement, start practical changes that align with your shared vision, and break free from limiting relationship roles or dynamics or outgrown. So in all relationships, whether it's business business relationships and hookups this week. Honesty is the key, being true, not being afraid to have those difficult conversations, right, with the view on how can I make my relationships better, you know. So in terms of best weekly actions this week, examine thought patterns around wounds. That's the best use of this week's energies, right, and notice how your thinking either helps emotional sensitivities or make them worse. Practice healing communication, express vulnerable truths with both honesty and compassion, whether to yourself or others. Question limited assumptions, beliefs, right? Challenge the beliefs about yourself, relationships or situations that restrict possibilities. Be open to unexpected insights, you know. Align your self-expression with authentic identity, ensuring your communications reflect your true self rather than conditioned responses. Build bridges between innovation and tradition. Find ways to start and implement revolutionary ideas while respecting useful, you know, tradition and routines, right? Ground spiritual insights into practical uses. Break free from restrictive self-concepts. Create stability with change, and balance psychological depth with emotional, you know, sensitivity. Bringing awareness to how you conscious communication can set the stage for breakthrough insights and authentic self-expression, you know. So in terms of the combined weekly meanings, psychologically, it invites us to examine how early experiences have shaped our current mental thinking. Perhaps we developed analytical thinking as a defense against emotional vulnerability, or maybe we use intellectual understanding to make sense of painful experiences. From a depth psychology perspective, this transit supports bringing Saturn material into conscious awareness through the bridge of language. The tension between Mercury, how we make meaning, and Chiron, where we feel wounded, creates a productive opportunity to name and therefore begin transforming unconscious patterns. So you can ask yourself what parts of your emotional experience have remained unexpressed or unacknowledged in your conscious understanding. How may finding words for those experiences begin a healing process. Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus wants us to, you know, and it brings the psychological focus towards breaking free from conditioned thought patterns that limit perception and possibility, helping us recognize how our minds have become trained to familiar neural pathways that make us miss powerful insights that lie outside of established thinking. So really reinforcing us to grow in our thinking this week, you know, think about why we think the things that we do, how we came to think these things, you know. And Uranus's Neptune sextile represents the psychological integration of revolutionary awareness with transcendent understanding, and how these breakthrough insights can connect us to larger patterns and purposes and beyond ego-centered concerns and, you know, negative thinking that we've picked up from our past and unresolved psychological, emotional and spiritual trauma, you know, putting the spotlight on how important it is for us to heal these, thinking about how our sense of self, our wounds serve or hinder our authentic evolution and creative expression, right? In terms of the karmic meaning, wounds related to, you know, expressing ourselves. Again, maybe we've habitually intellectualized our pain rather than feeling it, or we may have been overwhelmed by emotional suffering without the mental framework to integrate it. So it helps us find a balance between understanding and feeling, creating opportunities to heal the karmic split between head and heart, you know, giving us the mental freedom to break free from our conditioning. Perhaps we've developed patterns of evolutionary thinking that disconnect us from practical reality, or maybe on the other hand, patterns of mental conformity has stifled, you know, and buried us from our unique gifts and perspectives, and just made us believe the things that people have said are true about us. So this week's aspects support healing the karmic divide between innovation and integration, helping us develop thinking that is both original and relevant. And Uranus is set star to Neptune and wants us to integrate revolutionary impulses and spiritual vision, supporting us find a balance between transformation and transcendence, neither losing ourselves in spiritual bypassing nor becoming so focused on change that we miss the larger universal currents at work. And for many souls, these transits can activate karmic themes around authentic self-expression, how we've either suppressed or our truth to maintain safety, or expressed it in ways that create unnecessary suffering. And the sun's aspects to Mercury and Uranus suggests that this lifetime offers important opportunities to balance authentic self-expression that honours both our unique voice and the connection that we should have to, larger patterns such as the collective consciousness and needs, right? So ultimately, karmically, this week's energy is all about transforming mental patterns, emotional wounds and self-expression habits that have persisted across multiple lifetimes or, many times during this current lifetime, to help heal and bring newness into our life, right? In terms of the spiritual and esoteric meanings, ultimately it brings to light the places that have remained in the shadow, supports the spiritual practice of bearing witness to suffering, both our own and others, with a presence that's neither denies pain nor becomes identified with it, finding the language that sort of like allows us to, both feel and analyse pain intellectually, but without being too overthinking or too over emotional to the point where we can't move forward, right? Maintaining that compassionate perspective that makes us want to understand and heal and forgive the past and ourselves, and remember that they do not need to, our heartbreak, our pain do not define the totality of who we are, right? And Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus represents the spiritual awakening that comes when conditioned thinking gives way to direct perception, what Zen traditions call beginner's mind, or what Christian mysticism refers as putting off the old mind. This aspect supports the liberating insight that we are not our thoughts, but rather the awareness within which thoughts arise from. Uranus is set star to Neptune represents the spiritual integration of awakening and oneness, and how the lightning flash of individual insights can connect us to the ocean of universal consciousness. And this supports recognizing that true spiritual growth isn't about rejecting existing traditions, structures, routines, but rather seeing them from a perspective that transcends while including them. And together these transits create a spiritual opportunity to heal the perceived division between mind and heart, innovation and tradition, individual awakening and universal connection, recognizing these as complementary rather than contradictory aspects of the spiritual journey, right? So in terms of peak moments this week, early Monday morning can bring peak healing awareness, so good for any form of meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, anything that gets you in tune with yourself. Wednesday morning, it's the same again. This is when Mercury's Uranus makes it exact, aspect, right? Wednesday evening is good for authentic expression or anything that encourages that. And Thursday afternoon, when Uranus and Neptune and the Sun and Uranus meet, right, is good for us to focus on the things that we need to do to free ourselves from the things that are holding us back, right? So in terms of integrating this energy, right, it invites us to bring light to dark places, not to eliminate the shadow, but to recognize how our wounds have shaped our unique perspective and gifts. The Japanese concept of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold, offers a beautiful metaphor for this process we should open ourselves up to this week, where we acknowledge with conscious awareness our old wounds and and allowing them to become lines of gold that add to our lives rather than diminish, get in the way of our beauty and value. This isn't spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity, but rather the mature recognition that our wounds, while real, that are real, right, can become sources of distinct wisdom when brought into the light of conscious understanding, and allowing ourselves to break free from conditioned patterns of both thinking and identity, right, and allowing ourselves to speak our truth clearly without minimizing it to make others comfortable or exaggerating it to provoke reactions, right, allowing ourselves to, have that transcendent vision, have deep and meaningful conversations with others and insights and thought with ourselves, reminding us that the most radical innovations need to be grounded in something beyond personal will or ego this week, and that our most authentic expression serve purposes larger than ourselves, right, and trust that this week's progression from healing awareness to breakthrough insight to authentic expression to visionary liberation offers a natural rhythm that supports your growth and evolution, right. The wounds that we acknowledge early in the week can create openings for the insights that can come midweek, which in turn provide the understanding needed for authentic self-expression and visionary action as we go towards, Friday, Saturday of this week. So in terms of soul searching questions to ask yourself this week, you can ask how your emotional wounds shape your thinking and patterns, and what wisdom might be available in bringing conscious awareness to this connection, Where might you be limiting yourself through habitual thought patterns or assumptions, beliefs that no longer serve your authentic growth? And what truth are you ready to express more authentically, and how might doing so support your individual liberation and your connection to a larger purpose, right? So now I'm going to talk about the weekly guidance for each of the 12 sun, moon and rising signs, right? So Aries, Mercury's Chiron parallel can help you understand how emotional wounds influence your thinking about intimacy and vulnerability. Mercury's Uranus energy brings breakthrough insights about the financial entanglements or power dynamics in your life with other people that keep you back. Uranus's Neptune sextile can help you balance material security with spiritual values this week. It's important for you to try and trust your instincts about the necessary changes in how you share your resources, whether emotional or financial, that you pay attention to those this week. Taurus, with Uranus in your sign receiving aspects from Mercury, the Sun and Neptune this week, you're dealing with a lot of energy that's trying to make you transform your identity, right? Helping you understand how relationship wounds influence how you think about yourself, giving you insights about partnership patterns that may be helping you or holding you back. And Uranus's Neptune, the sextile, helps you balance personal revolution, change with collective vision, allowing you to break free from limiting relationship dynamics while maintaining connections that truly matter. Gemini, your ruling planet Mercury forms significant aspects this week, creating an intellectually transformative period. The Mercury Chiron Contra-Parallel early in the week helps you understand how work-related wounds can influence your daily thinking, right? Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus brings breakthrough insights about unconscious patterns or spiritual practices, and Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance career innovation with spiritual purpose. Trust the insights that show up about how to align daily work with a deeper meaning. Cancer, with Chiron making the contra-parallel to Mercury, it brings healing opportunities connected to your self-expression and creativity. Early in the week, if you pay attention to how identity wounds influence your thinking about creative or other projects, especially things like romantic relationships, Mercury's contra-parallel Uranus can bring breakthrough insights about friendship dynamics or future goals, and Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance expanded perspective intuitive with emotional wisdom, so just allow yourself to express vulnerable truths within trusted, creative or romantic contexts, relationship situations. Leo, your ruling planet, the sun, forms significant aspects this week, creating an identity clarifying period where you gain clarity about who you want to be, helping you understand how family or other patterns influence your thinking about security and belonging and being yourself. And Mercury's parallel to the sun, right, brings clarity to home related decisions or emotional foundations, and the sun's contra-parallel to Uranus can help you break free from limiting career or family patterns. Trust your capacity to honour tradition while being open to necessary change in how you create security. Virgo, your ruling planet, Mercury forms a lot of aspects this week, so Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron can help you understand how communication wounds influence your learning and expression patterns. So this week can be quite a transformative, mentally stimulating period for you. Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus can bring insights about belief systems or educational plans, and Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance intellectual liberation, freedom with psychological depth. Allow yourself to question your beliefs while maintaining connections that support your growth. Libra, this brings focus to values and resources, right? And the Mercury Chiron contra-parallel can help you understand how worth-related wounds influence your thinking about finances and possessions. Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus brings breakthrough insights about shared resources or intimate boundaries. Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance material security with relationship ideals. Trust your intuition about necessary changes in how you manage resources while maintaining important connections. Scorpio, with both the Sun and Mercury in your sign forming significant aspects this week, you'll experience deep and meaningful identity and communication clarity. Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron can help you understand how identity wounds influence your self-expression, and the Sun's parallel to Mercury can bring a powerful alignment between your authentic self and conscious mind, and the aspects of Uranus and Neptune, the sextile, right, can support you breaking free from limiting relationship patterns while maintaining meaningful connections. Allow yourself to express your truth with both depth and compassion. Sagittarius, Mercury's contra-parallel to Chiron can activate your unconscious mind and private self, helping you to understand how hidden wounds influence your thinking patterns. Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus brings breakthrough insights about work routines or health patterns, and Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance practical innovation, right, with spiritual awareness. And it's important to trust the intuitive insights that show up about how to align your daily practices with a deeper purpose. Capricorn, Saturn receives influences from Uranus and Neptune this week, and of course Saturn's your ruler, right? So you can understand how friendship wounds influence your thinking about belonging, and Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus brings breakthrough insights about creative expression or romantic patterns. And Uranus's sextile to Neptune, right, can help you find balance and bring structured commitment to your ideas, right, allowing you to reach your goals while also maintaining valuable traditions, as well as being open to the necessary innovation, change that's needed in how you express yourself. Aquarius, your modern ruler, Uranus receives aspects from Mercury, the Sun and Neptune this week, so a busy week for you. You can experience significant innovation and vision integration, you know, Mercury's Chiron Contra-Parallel can help you understand how career wounds influence your professional thinking. Mercury's Contra-Parallel to Uranus can bring breakthrough insights about your home patterns or emotional foundations. And Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance practical innovation with transcendent vision. Trust your unique perspective while remaining grounded in what truly matters, you know. Pisces, with your modern ruler Neptune receiving a sextile from Uranus this week, you can experience significant visionary integration, allowing you to understand how beliefs related to your wounds influence your perspective, how you think, right? And Mercury's Contra-Parallel to Uranus can bring insights about communication patterns or learning approaches that are supporting you or holding you back. Uranus's sextile to Neptune can help you balance practical innovation with spiritual awareness, so allow yourself to maintain a connection with transcendent wisdom while being open to the necessary changes in how you express yourself, right? So in terms of this week's mantras, Aries, yours is: I transform my relationships with vulnerability by understanding how past wounds influence my current thinking. My courage extends to facing emotional truths with both honesty and compassion, finding strength in authentic connection rather than self-protection. Taurus, I balance stability with necessary changes, recognizing which foundations truly support my growth and which simply resist transformation. My revolutionary path includes practical wisdom that ensures changes have lasting value rather than simply disrupting comfortable patterns. Gemini, I heal communication patterns by understanding their emotional roots, bringing conscious awareness to how I process and share information. My mental flexibility becomes wisdom when I balance quick insights with a deeper reflection on what truly matters. Cancer, I express emotional wisdom with newfound clarity, honouring both my sensitivity and my strength. My nurturing nature thrives when I allow myself to receive the same compassion I so readily offer others, creating a balanced exchange rather than one-sided giving. Leo, I shine light on my family patterns with both courage and compassion, creating security that supports authentic expression rather than conformity. My creative leadership transforms when I integrate emotional wisdom with clear vision, inspiring others through vulnerable strength. Virgo, I communicate with both precision and heart, allowing my analytical mind to serve a healing purpose rather than perpetuate criticism, allowing criticism to continue. My attention to detail becomes wisdom when I apply it to understanding patterns that connect rather than differences that separate. Libra, I create value based on authentic worth rather than external validation, recognizing the resources that truly support my growth. My balance-seeking nature thrives when I honour both material realities and spiritual values, finding harmony through integration rather than compromise. Scorpio, I express my truth with both intensity and compassion, allowing others to see my authentic depth without overwhelming them with it. My transformative nature serves healing when I share insights from a place of connection rather than control, revealing wisdom through vulnerability. Sagittarius, I trust inner guidance while remaining open to unexpected insights, balancing intuitive wisdom with fresh perspective. My optimistic vision thrives when I acknowledge shadows rather than bypassing them, finding genuine hope through integration rather than avoidance. Capricorn, I build structures that support growth rather than simply containing it, recognizing which transitions truly serve my evolution. My authority deepens when I balance necessary boundaries with visionary possibility, creating foundations that facilitate rather than restrict authentic expression. Aquarius, I revolutionize with both vision and practicality, creating changes that serve a meaningful purpose rather than simply disrupting the status quo. My innovative perspective thrives when I connect individual liberation with collective evolution, seeing how personal freedom serves universal patterns. Pisces, I deal between transcendence transcendent vision and practical expression, finding the sacred middle path where inspiration meets manifestation. My compassionate nature serves healing when I balance boundless empathy with clear boundaries, creating space for authentic connection without losing myself in others. So yeah, that's the end of this week's guidance and mantras. So now I'm just going to give advice for content creators and what content you could create this week. So because we've got Mercury and Chiron supporting content that explores how thinking patterns relate to emotional wounds, and Mercury, Uranus and the Sun, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune and Sun, Uranus energy supports us exploring content around breakthrough insights, how having those, aha light bulb moments and putting them into practice can help us heal or move us forward in our career and other goals, right? And how authentic expression can build genuine self-respect and worth, understanding and love, as well as, give us, peace of mind. So, content that explores how our thinking patterns heal or make our wounds continue and make them worse, bringing consciousness to recurring mental, emotional and psychological and spiritual patterns, and how we can heal them. Personal stories about transforming personal experiences through conscious understanding, giving tools for communicating vulnerable truths with both honesty and compassion. Content that normalizes the connection between thought patterns and emotional sensitivity. Content, as we go midweek, Wednesday onwards, we can give content that gives frameworks, guidelines for questioning limiting beliefs and assumptions, content that present unconventional perspectives on common challenges, tools for aligning communication with authentic identity, resources for distinguishing between conditioned responses and genuine self-expression, content that challenges conventional wisdom while offering practical alternatives. We can use the Uranus, Neptune, Sun, Uranus energies to create content that supports visionary integration and authentic liberation, giving frameworks for implementing innovative ideas in practical ways, content that bridges spiritual insights with touchable uses, tools for breaking free from limiting self-concepts or identities, resources for maintaining stability during transformative change, and content that connects individual authenticity with a larger purpose. So ultimately, content that helps us with bringing consciousness to wounded thinking patterns, how we can heal ourselves and be more comfortable with ourselves, helping your audience deal with the connection between thinking patterns and emotional wounds, showing how bringing consciousness to this relationship supports not just healing but also innovation, authentic self-expression, love, forgiveness. And just remember that your most valuable contribution as a content creator during this period is demonstrating how seemingly opposing energies such as wounded sensitivity and mental clarity, revolutionary thinking and practical application, and individual authenticity and universal connection can work together to create holistic growth. Your audience needs to see how these different aspects complement each other rather than contradict on the path of authentic becoming their authentic self, right? Yeah. So on the 16th of November, the moon enters void of course at 2:16 a.m. The moon enters its balsamic moon phase at 3:39 a.m. The sun enters Scorpio at 8:08 a.m. and Mars makes a sesquiquadrate to Chiron at 10 a.m. right? So Mars' sesquiquadrate to Chiron is exact at 9:59 a.m. today and just lasts for a couple of days, and Mars is in Scorpio and Chiron's in Pisces. So today is a day of deep and meaningful renewal and soulful courage as the sun goes into Scorpio. So the moon void of course gives us time to rest, have deep emotional rest and reset and let go of what's outgrown in our life, right? But the best use of this energy is to pause, reflect and allow space for inner guidance. Some of you may find it ideal not to start anything new while the moon's void of course. The balsamic moon phase that lasts for a few days is a time for closure, forgiveness and spiritual preparation before the new lunar cycle, the full moon, right? No, the new moon? Yeah, the new moon, right? And this can bring up fatigue or sense of loss, and the best use of this energy is to release old patterns, which most of this week's energy is supporting us to do. Meditate and set intentions for renewal, and the sun enters Scorpio, right? So this invites us to deeply transform what needs to change, gives us emotional courage and the power to face our shadows, but negatively can intensify obsessions, jealousy or emotional extremes if not channeled wisely. The best use of this is to look into self-discovery, healing and honest emotional expression. So once again, supporting the main energies of this week. Mars is sextile quadrant to Chiron, again gives us the courage to confront old wounds and take action towards healing, but negatively can trigger frustration, anger or defensiveness around sensitivity issues. The best use of this energy is to use it for gentle self-assertion and compassionate self-care, so enforcing your boundaries and stuff like that. So today is a day of, being curious about life's mysteries and, calling us to explore the things that are hidden and exploring your depths with courage and curiosity and letting your wounds inspire new ideals, and in terms of the karmic energy, the sun's change to Scorpio invites us to confront our shadows while supports us in doing this, right? Releasing all attachments and transforming pain into wisdom. This is a time over the coming month for deep soul healing and reclaiming your personal power. In terms of past life dreams and visions, we can have dreams around loss, betrayal or rebirth. These visions can help us understand current emotional patterns and offer clues for healing unfinished business. Collectively, when the sun's in Scorpio, it helps us to unturn hidden truths, taboo topics, explore these collective transformation as well, and we can expect an increase in conversations about powers, secrets and regeneration collectively. Spiritually, it can deepen our connection to intuition, psychic abilities and spiritual rebirth. It's a time for shadow work and meditation and exploring mystical practices that create inner growth. In terms of personal development, we are invited to let go of our old skins, face our fears and be open to emotional honesty. Personal transformation is possible now over the coming month if you're willing to look beneath the surface and trust the process. It's a good energy for research, investigation, strategic planning. It's a good time to tackle complex problems, study psychology or healing, arts like yoga, meditation and Tai Chi, stuff like that, and anything that requires your depth and persistence, keeping going after each failure. It allows us to, in our relationships, have healing conversations, can bring family and friends closer by deepening our bonds. If you're self-partnered, be open to solitude for self-discovery and healing. Co-workers, it can benefit you in building co-working relationships based on trust and transparency, but it's important to avoid power struggles, right? Hookups. And committed relationships, intensity and passion can increase, but so does the need for emotional boundaries, so be honest about your needs. Esoterically, the sun's entry into Scorpio is a classic symbol of the soul's descent into the underworld, facing darkness to reclaim lost power. And ancient wisdom teaches that true transformation comes from being open to, not avoiding the shadow. Psychologically, the themes of shadow integration, rebirth and the hero's journey are front and center when the sun's in Scorpio, and it's our chance to rewrite old stories and reclaim wholeness over the coming month. As the Jungian shadow prompt for today, you can ask, where do you resist facing your deepest wounds and fears, and how may being open to them, unlock your power to heal and transform. In terms of integrating today's energy, practice a simple shadow work meditation. Write down one fear and explore the root of this fear. Release an old habit or grudge with a symbolic gesture like burning, burying or letting go. Set a powerful intention for the new sun in Scorpio cycle, asking yourself, what do you wish to transform? On the 17th of November, Mercury's contra-parallel to Jupiter is exact at 2:30. The sun makes a trine to Jupiter at 5:08. The sun makes a trine to Saturn at 8:56. The moon enters Libra at 10:05, and Mercury makes a sextile to Pluto at 8:36, right? So Mercury's contra-parallel to Jupiter is exact at 2:29 a.m. Leaves on the 20th of November. Mars is in Scorpio and Chiron's in Pisces. Sun makes a trine to Jupiter. The Sun's in Scorpio and Jupiter's in Cancer, right? And Mercury's sextile to Pluto. Mercury's in Scorpio and Pluto's in Capricorn. So today's energy is a day that supports steady progress and big breakthroughs. The Sun's trine to Jupiter brings luck, confidence and a sense of growth. Doors open and opportunities appear. Negatively, it can make us too overconfident and doing too much, so make sure, take steps towards your goals and say yes to positive opportunities, but be cautious and make a plan. The Sun's trine to Saturn, balances and grounds the Sun's Jupiter's energy, giving us stability, discipline and the ability to turn dreams into reality. Negatively, it can add to us feeling overwhelmed, heavy and slow this week, especially if we resist structure and routine, but it allows us to make steady progress and combine ambition with practical planning. And the moon entering Libra brings that nice, balanced, harmonious energy, giving us the ability and the need to connect with others, but it can make us indecisive or too eager to please. So it's important to seek balance in relationships and enjoy social connections. And Mercury sextile to Pluto helps with us having deep insights this week, sharpens our mind and helps us uncover hidden truths, but it can stir up obsessive thoughts or power struggles in conversation. It's best used for honest conversation, transformative discussions and researching hard subjects, So, today, take advantage of the big opportunities and lucky breaks. Steady progress can be made on important goals, and we can have more insightful and harmonious social communications, right? But we just need to watch out for being overconfident, taking on too much, the tension in communication that can come up if we push too hard. Speak your truth, but respect other people's boundaries as well. Watch out for being indecisive and people pleasing. The best use of today's energy is to take bold, courageous but well-planned steps towards your dreams and balance optimism with discipline, right? In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, you can ask yourself, where do you resist? Combining optimism with discipline, and how may being open to both today help you achieve your biggest goals? So in terms of integrating today's energy, write down one big goal and break it into small steps that are practical. Have deep, honest conversation with someone or someone's you trust, and take a bold, small action towards realizing your goals, and then ground it with a practical plan, right? Using that Jupiter energy and Saturn energy to make strategic plans, On the 18th of November, Mars makes a sextiquadrate to Jupiter at 11:23. Venus makes a sextiquadrate to Neptune at 12:20, and the moon enters via combustion. So Mars is in Scorpio and Jupiter's in Cancer, right? Venus is in Libra and Neptune's in Pisces, right? So Mars is sextiquadrate to Jupiter adds to the motivation and ambition of this week, giving us the drive to chase big dreams and take courageous, bold action, but negatively can make us impatient and add to the overconfidence of the week and risky behaviour, and we can bite off more than what we can chew. The best use of this energy is to channel it into a project that excites you, but, you know, pace yourself and make sure you check the facts, you know, especially when hearing things and with gossip today, you know, don't just repeat things without having the facts. Venus makes a sextile quadrant to Neptune, and, you know, with Neptune energy being one of the main aspects this week with Uranus and sextile to Neptune, right? Uranus, sextile, Neptune, that's the correct way of saying it. You know, Neptune energy can always make us blur boundaries, overindulge in drugs and alcohol. It can create confusion in love and all matters and lead to wistful thinking and disappointment. We can want to be lied to and manipulated. We can ignore red flags, right? But the best use of this energy is to be open to the increased sensitivity, compassion and creative inspiration that it brings, you know. So spend time on spiritual plans, art or listening or making music. Enjoy beauty and imagination, but keep your feet on the ground in relationships and finances. And when the moon enters via combustion, which means it's between the 15th degree of Libra and Scorpio, right, stays there for about 3 days every month. It's a chance to burn away old emotional baggage and face what's hidden. It can add to the turbulence, the emotional turbulence of this week, you know, mood swings and a sense of you walking through fire. But if you practice extra self-care, avoid drama, this fiery road can purify you and your needs and take you to where you need to go, right? So ultimately, you know, today's energy increases our motivation and courage and allows us to release emotional, psychological and spiritual trauma, allowing us to be open to renewal and newness, right? And bringing opportunities for new beginnings. But again, just watch out for that reckless decision making that we can all do in overconfidence, right? And the temptation to escape reality because of, you know, Neptune energy on top of the Neptune energy that we have. And just watch out for mood swings and emotional turbulence, right? The best use of this energy is to practice self-care and avoid unnecessary drama. In terms of the Jungian shadow prompt, right, you can ask, where do you let ambition or longing cloud your judgment, and how may facing uncomfortable truths today help you find real happiness, right? So in terms of integrating today's energy, ground yourself with a 5-minute mindfulness or breathing exercise. Write down your top ambitions, then list 3 practical steps to achieve them. Create or listen to music that help you process emotions and stay centered, right? On the 19th of November, we've got a lot going on. The moon enters void, of course, at 4:49. Venus makes a trine to the moon's north node at 9:53. Mercury's contra-parallel to Uranus is exact at 10:43. Mercury's opposition to Uranus is exact at 11:45. Mercury makes a trine to Neptune at 12:22. Mercury makes a biquintal to Chiron at 1:02. The Sun's parallel to Mercury is exact at 6:34, and the moon enters Scorpio. So the moon's north node is in Aquarius, Venus is in Libra, and we know where all the rest of the planets are because they've been involved in other aspects. So today is a day of revelations and relationship fate. When the moon's void, of course, it's best to take some time out and to let go of what no longer serves you, but your energy can feel scattered. So if you feel ungrounded, it's best not to start new things. When the moon enters Scorpio, it's best used to look into self-reflection, healing and passionate plans, and it deepens emotional insight and strengthens resolve. And with the sun being there, and while the moon's there for the next 2 or so days, it amplifies the Scorpio energy, right? And we've got Mercury there as well, and Sun, Mars is there. So yeah, Venus is trine to the moon's north node can bring fated relationships, relationship harmony and creative flow. Negatively, we can over idealize relationships and miss subtle red flags. So the best use of this energy is to strengthen bonds, work with others and follow your heart's path. Mercury's opposition to Uranus, it's best to expect the unexpected and let go of inflexible thinking, and it adds to the breakthroughs that can happen this week. Mercury's trine to Neptune increases intuition, imagination and spiritual awareness, but but again, it can add to us escaping this week. The best use of this energy is to meditate, create, or trust in your gut, especially in subtle matters. Trust your intuition, your gut feelings, right? Mercury's biquintal to Chiron brings healing, conversations, and creative problem solving, but negatively can add to the overthinking that we can do, especially when it comes to our psychological, emotional, and spiritual wounds and trauma, and we can miss practical details when trying to start new projects or heal. So make sure you make plans and go slowly. Don't overwhelm yourself, speak gently, indulge in some positive self-care, listen deeply, and use your words and thoughts to heal. So in terms of the Jungian shadow prompt for today, you can ask, where do you resist sudden change or cling to old emotional patterns, and how might being open to the unexpected today lead to healing and growth? You can integrate this energy by practice mindful breathing when you feel mentally overstimulated. Reach out to someone for a heartfelt conversation, or work with others on a creative project, or do a creative project on your own. Journal about any sudden insights or dreams and look for patterns and guidance. On the 20th of November, there's a new moon at 6:47, and I've done a whole separate audio on this, and earlier I said it was a full moon that was coming. No, I did say it was a new moon. Anyway, it's a new moon. The Sun makes a conjunction to Mercury at 9:23. Uranus' sextile to Neptune is exact at 4. Uranus' sextile to Neptune is exact at 2:40, and the Sun's contra-parallel to Uranus is exact at 3:16. So the Sun's conjunction to Mercury happened when both the Sun and Mercury is in Scorpio, right? And today is a day of visionary triggers and fresh start. So the new moon brings a clean state and powerful energy for setting new intentions and emotional renewal, but it can stir up uncertainty or a sense of emptiness. And before new growth begins, it's best used to set clear intentions, start new projects, and trust in fresh beginnings. The Sun's conjunction to Mercury increases our communication and sharpens our minds and can bring clarity to our goals, but it can make us overly focus on our own ideas, and we can miss subtle cues from others. It's best used to speak our own truth and brainstorm and write down our intentions for the coming new lunar month, right? So in terms of the Jungian Saturn prompt for today, you can ask, where do you resist starting new out of fear of the unknown, and how might being open to the day's fresh energy help you build resilience and vision? To integrate this energy, write down 3 intentions for the new lunar cycle. Focus on what you truly want to grow. Practice a short meditation or visualization to connect with your inner guidance. Try something new, big or small, that stretches your comfort zone and triggers inspiration. On the 21st of November, the moon leaves via combustor at 5:04. The Sun makes a biquintal with Chiron at 11:06. The moon enters void of course at 11:13. The Sun makes an opposition to Uranus at 12:26. The Sun makes a trine to Neptune at 1:05. So the Sun's biquintal to Chiron happens when the Sun's in Scorpio and Chiron's in Pisces. The Sun's opposition to Uranus happens when the Sun's in Scorpio and Uranus is in Taurus, and the Sun's trine to Neptune happens when the Sun's in Scorpio and Neptune's in Pisces. So today is a day of inspired healing, and when the moon leaves via combustion, we may become more emotionally stable, bringing a sense of relief and clarity, but negatively we can still feel a bit raw or exposed. So the best use of this energy is to take a breath, acknowledge your feelings, and move forward with renewed calm. The Sun's biquintal to Chiron can trigger creative healing and unique solutions to old wounds, but negatively can add to the insecurities about our sense of being different from what people expect us to be. The best use of this energy is to be open to your quirks and who you are. This is a week where we're meant to have spent time working on being our authentic self, right? And a lot of aspects supporting us to do that this week. Use your quirks and your uniqueness as a source of wisdom. The Sun's opposition to Uranus brings breakthroughs, liberation, and the courage to break free from old patterns. Negatively can trigger restlessness, rebellion, or unexpected disruptions. The best use of this energy is to stay flexible, expect the unexpected, and welcome change as a catalyst for growth. The Sun's trine to Neptune can increase our intuition, compassion, and spiritual insight. Negatively can blur boundaries and make you prone to escapism. The best use of this energy is to meditate, create, and trust your inner guidance. So, in turn of the Jungian shadow prompt for today, you can ask, where do you resist change out of fear of losing control, and how might being open to today's surprises help you heal and grow? To integrate today's energy, practice a 5-minute meditation to center yourself, write down one pattern you're ready to break, then take a small step towards freedom and do something creative or spontaneous that honors your unique spirit. On the 22nd of November, the moon enters Sagittarius at 11:17 a.m. Venus quintiles Pluto at 4:15. Mercury makes a trine to Saturn at 6:46 p.m. Mercury makes a trine to Jupiter at 11:38 p.m. So Venus's quintile Pluto happens when Venus is in Libra and Pluto is in Capricorn. Mercury's trine to Saturn happens when Mercury's in Scorpio and Saturn's in Pisces. Mercury's trine to Jupiter happens when Mercury's in Scorpio and Jupiter is in Cancer, right? So the theme of today is alchemy of the heart and mind. So the moon in Sagittarius lifts our spirits, triggers adventure, and encourages optimism, but it can make us restless or prone to overdoing things. The best use of this energy is to explore new ideas, broaden your horizons and open your mind, and look for inspiration. Venus's quintile to Pluto deepens our intimacy, can add to the creative breakthroughs that can happen this week and help us transform our relationships with ourselves and others, but negatively it can add to the power struggles that can come up this week as it stirs up hidden desires. So we have to be honest with ourselves and others about what we truly want right now. The best use of this energy is to channel it into art, healing, or honest connection or communication, and be vulnerable, which is also another big theme of this week, right? Mercury's trine to Saturn increases and sharpens our focus, supports wise decision, and helps us communicate with authority. Negatively, we may feel a bit serious or inflexible if we resist change, right? The best use of this energy is to plan, organize, and have important conversations, as our words can carry weight. Mercury's trine to Jupiter expands our mind, brings good news, and supports big picture thinking, but it can tempt us to gloss over details or promise more than we can deliver. The best use of this energy is to share our visions and learn something new and say yes to growth, right? So in terms of Jungian shadow prompts, we can ask, where do you hold yourself back from honest connection or bold ideas out of fear, and how might being open to both today lead to transformation? To integrate this energy, write down one area where you want a deeper connection, take a small honest step towards it, set a learning or travel goal inspired by today's Sagittarius moon, and have a meaningful conversation that blends vision with practical planning. So yeah, that's the end of the weekly scopes, right? I hope this has helped you. I'm Amani, your holistic astrological life coach. Take care and see you next week.